All right, hey there. Another episode of What's Brian Up To? Well, today I'm over at my parents' house and I'm going to help my dad work on his 1995 GL1500 Honda Goldwing trike. Today we are working on rebuilding the front forks. All right, here's the bike. And as maybe you recall in other videos, we've worked on replacing the LCD screen. And another episode, we replaced the front tire. So go ahead and check those out. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It really helps the channel. All right, let's do it. So the first step is to go ahead and jack up the front to get that front tire up. And this is a trike, which is a little bit sturdier, but if it was a motorcycle, when we jack it up, we want to make sure we secure it so that it can't be tipped over. All right. Today we're using an ATV jack. This helps stabilize the bike. Makes it a little easier. So next we're going to remove the fender trim covers. And when you're doing this, remember to pull carefully outward. And that disengages the tab from the grommet. Then we remove the upper cover bolt, and it secures the brake hose retainer. So then the next step is to remove the two bolts at the bottom of the ring of fire, and these are both 8mm. In the last video, we didn't have the screw, and so we used one we found, and it actually is a Phillips head. All right, and then the same on the left side, removing the cover and the screws of the ring of fire. All 8mm. Taking care with the wires on the ring of fire. And a good idea to set that on a towel or a rag. All right, next step is to loosen the calipers. This top Allen is a 6mm and the bottom is a 5mm. Set that aside carefully. Again, repeat on the other side. And if the caliper doesn't come off, what he's doing is trying to compress the piston slightly just to help it get off that disc. There, perfect. Setting it aside carefully. And we do the same thing on the other side, which also takes the pressure off of the axle. And this bracket also holds on the speedometer cable right here. So the next step is to take off the axle bolt, and you use a 22mm socket for this. This should be tightened up to 65 foot-pounds, and so you might need to use a breaker bar like we are using at the moment. And then once you have that loose, you can either undo by hand or with a smaller wrench. And then on this opposite side, the axle may start turning. So there's this hole here. You can stick a screwdriver through it, and I can help hold it on this side. All right, next step, you can use that screwdriver to remove the axle out of there. I'll hold up the tire here, help you. There we go. And when this comes out, the speedometer is a spacer on this side, basically. And when you put it back together, make sure these little tabs here line up with the little tabs here in this area. And on this side, you gotta watch this spacer right here. I'll pull that wheel towards you there. That spacer will come right out. There we go. All right, next step is to remove the fenders. First step, up on this chrome piece, there's a couple holes here, and there's some plugs in there. And you gotta remove those plugs. And then there's an Allen screw underneath. Got it? So there's the little plug, okay? A couple of those. And then to remove those is a 5mm Allen head. All right, next step, we want to remove this chrome trim piece that holds the speedometer in place so we can take the fenders off. And inside the back of these chrome trim pieces are some Phillips head screws. One there, one in the back, and one on the side right there. Okay, right, and then that trim piece slides right off of there and off to the side. And then once that's off, you can see that the black rubber pulls out of the chrome here. Now to remove the fenders, each side has a rear fender screw, a front fender screw, and then there's these 4 Allen head screws on the top here. And you want to remove the rear and the fronts of each side first, and then remove the top Allens. And these are 10mm. This one has a little washer too. Okay, perfect. All right, and we do the same on the other side. And then the next step is to take off these 4 Allen screws on the top, and they're 6mm. Looks like there's a bracket that comes off.
Yes, the threads are going to.
Okay, perfect. You got that fender, I got this one. Okay, and they just pull right off of there. All right, next step is to take off this center cover and then also these black inserts. And the center cover is just held in by a couple rubber grommets near the rear here. There we go. It pulls off. And these just pop out. Pulls off. Next, you want to take off the 4 handlebar bolts. They are 12mm. Okay, and then once you have those screws out, you should be able to just gently pull out the handlebars and lay them down slightly out of the way. That should be good. Okay, on this model, this is the Aspencade model, and we need to remove these caps. Then the next step is to remove the valve stem. A little valve stem tool. Sides there. Then the next step is to go ahead and loosen the damper rod bolt. And you can loosen this damper rod bolt before the fork is disassembled because it's under spring tension. With it still in the bike here, it'll help you loosen it without the spring spinning inside. This is a 24mm. All right, we've decided to just temporarily put the handlebars back on just to give us a little bit of leverage while we are loosening this damper rod bolt here. And then before we loosen the damper rod bolt, it's a good idea to go ahead and loosen the upper triple clamp bolt. So this is the upper triple clamp bolt. There's one on each side right there. So we're just going to loosen that a little bit to take the tension off the top of that dampener rod bolt. And that was a 13mm, and then this is a 24mm.
There we go. Okay, outside's loosened. Okay.
So we've undone the upper triple clamp bolts, and now we're going to work on the 2 on the bottom. And they are 8mm Allen. And there, I don't know if you can see those there. Let's see. I'm gonna try and look from the top here. As we loosen those, we're able to pull that fork right out. And that one's out. There, here's the left fork. We'll just go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. That fork should slide right out. Just like that. There's our right fork. Here it is without the forks. Okay, now that we have them out, we're gonna work on one fork leg at a time, and that's just to avoid mixing up the parts. So the next step really is to take that fork cap off, which is this here. Remember, we use the 24 millimeter. And as we take this off, this is under spring tension. So we wanna make sure to face it away from ourselves while we take it off. And remember, we loosened this while it was still in the bike. It's like a Jack in the Box.
Yeah, just like a Jack in the Box.
Okay. All right. We removed that spacer. Okay. There should be spring seats and springs inside. And some of the earlier models will have 2 springs. There's 1 spring. And then we want to invert the fork assembly over the container and extend and compress it several times to drain it away. There we go. Next, we're going to go ahead and pry the dust seal from the outer tube. The small screwdriver working around the edges of it. Be gentle not to damage it. Alright. And then next, we're going to pry the retaining ring from its groove in the outer tube. So down in there. Perfect. All right. Right inside there is a 6 millimeter Allen, comes through the bottom. And we're going to go ahead and unscrew that Allen bolt at the bottom of the outer tube. And then we're going to remove the copper washer. So we took a 6mm old Allen wrench and we actually cut it off. And we then used a socket, a 6mm socket on here because this was really stuck in here. We tried the impact gun, which I don't recommend, and then we decided to put this on a socket with more leverage, and finally this broke loose. So we had this in there like that. We had the socket on the end of it, and then now we have it loosened up. Perfect. Keep in mind, if you tilt this, it has liquid in it still, or oil in it still.
It's leaking out the back now. Here I go. Got it.
Oh.
I just tipped it the other way, Brian.
Oh, okay. Okay. And that copper washer came out?
And
Looks like it did. Right on that screw. Okay, great. Okay. So now we're going to hold the outer tube and we're going to yank the inner tube away from it repeatedly like a slide hammer until the seal and outer tube guide bushing pop loose.
It's coming.
Awesome. Oh.
Hickey.
Oh
no.
What a mess. So here's the bushings, right? Right there, and then the seal.
Yep.
So next we're going to slide the oil seal, the backup ring, and the slider bushing, which is a large bushing, from the inner tube. So this part here, we need to take this little retainer ring off of there. Tiny retainer. Okay, next we're going to work on removing the anti-dive unit. These are 5mm Allen head screws.
Looks like it's spring loaded.
It is.
Looks like it is a spring and a gasket and 4 screws. Yep. Excellent.
Okay, we have now cleaned all the parts with a solvent in this little pan for the right fork, and all these parts are cleaned. A lot of these parts are going to get replaced. As you can see, the lower housing's been all cleaned, all the springs have been cleaned and air dried with compressed air. And now we're getting ready to rebuild. I have organized all of our replacement parts. We were able to get this diagram on Honda for rebuilding. I'll share the link where we purchased the parts. These are all the new seals and parts for the right fork, and these are all the new seals and parts for the left fork. And I think the next step is getting going, starting to rebuild. Okay, let's do it. So as you're cleaning the parts with solvent and then blowing them dry with compressed air, you're gonna wanna make sure you check the inner and outer fork tubes and the damper rod for any score marks and scratches, any flaking of the chrome or excessive or abnormal wear. Basically replacing anything that you see could be worn. You wanna check all bushings for scoring scratches or excessive wear and replace them. You want to check the inner circumference of the backup ring and replace it if it looks bent or distorted. You want to check the inner fork tube if it's bent. It shouldn't be replaced. You got to replace it with a new one. You also want to measure the overall length of the fork spring and check it for cracks or other damage. The standard length on a 95 and then on it should be 5.38 inches. We have measured ours already and it does meet that. And if there is a spring that's bad, you want to replace the springs in both forks, not just one. You never want to replace just one spring in one fork. If it's the Aspen Kate or the SC, you'll want to slide the collar out of the anti-dive and check the needle bearing for wear or damage, replace if necessary. You want to check the Teflon O-rings on the damper rod and replace them if they're worn or damaged. And if it has this anti-dive unit, you want to inspect those components for wear or damage and make sure the anti-dive O-ring and stuff is not swollen. That can cause the unit to freeze in a really harsh ride. So I think we've gone through and checked all that for this right fork, and now it is time to start putting it together. Okay. On the install, the first step really is to install the rebound spring on the dampen rod. And then we're gonna, and we didn't take this apart, we inspected it and saw that it looked good. No wear, nothing like that on there. And then the next step is to insert that into the inner fork tube and let it slide down slowly until it protrudes from the bottom of the inner fork tube. Okay, first step is to add the ring stopper.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Just this little tiny fine.
Okay.
Okay. This
Yep.
on here, that's the spring right there.
Okay. So it's a little bit of a concave, and so
Goes like that.
place it on so it's almost cupping the spring. And the spring. And the collar.
All right, now I gotta get.
And then we got to put on that second new spring. Okay. All right, next step is to install the new slider bushing, which is going to go right here. This is the old one. Okay.
Like that.
Yeah. And then we're gonna install the inner fork into the outer fork.
Simple there.
Okay. And then we're going to temporarily install the fork spring and cap bolts.
That puts pressure against that, so we can get the bolt in.
Yep. And then the cap bolt, or the cap. All right. That'll put a little pressure against here. Then we bought a new bolt and a new copper washer for it. Apply just a little bit of thread locker to it. We're going to torque that to 14 foot-pounds using our cutoff Allen wrench. There we go, 14 foot-pounds. Next, we're going to put in this new bushing using an old backup ring and an old bushing and a 4-inch long piece of 1.5-inch pipe purchased at the hardware store. Covered the ends with tape to help protect. Okay, so our new bushing. Adding a little oil. What we're trying to do is get this bushing down in there.
This is the old ring.
The bushing. bushing.
Yep.
All right, and I'm gonna take a peek in there. You can see right along the edge there. It's flush with the machining of the outer tube. All right, next we install the backup ring. This is a new ring. Adding just a little bit of oil to it. Okay. All right. And then we want to add the new oil seal. So in the new seal, it comes with the dust cover and the seal here. And these are the directions that came with it. And you can see it goes in this, it goes seal cover, then a clip we'll put on next. But we had a little confusion on which way this went, but now it makes sense. It talks about the marking is on the top, and if you look really closely, you probably can't see it, but there's little letters and numbers and markings on this top, so that made more sense. I'm glad this was in the sheet. So we take that and install that, and we need to lubricate it a little bit. And the outer diameter of the seal. And then we slide it down the inner tube. And then we can use that same piece of pipe tool to put it into place very carefully. It needs to be down and far enough so that we can get this clip back in. I don't think we're there yet, no. There it goes.
Yes, just about there.
Yeah,
It's close. There it is.
Slip in there very carefully. Ta-da!
Okay.
All right, let's see that clip in there. Okay. Next is to install the dust seal, and we can use that same tool to do it. Okay.
In place.
All right. Okay, next we're working on the anti-dive. I'm going to take out this little bushing here. And then there's this little dust cover we take off. Gently pull it over that. And that should just push right out. And there's a little O-ring in there we got to replace. So next we're going to replace the anti-dive seal and also the O-ring that's in there. This is an O-ring that goes down in that housing, down in the center. Okay. Seal.
This.
We'll put a little dust cover back on. Okay. Okay, and then we put in our bushing, and then we have a seal underneath these bolts to replace as well.
Okay.
All right. Let's go ahead and put that new copper washer on there.
Gotta put that in there.
Yep.
There we go.
Okay.
And then we have a spring that goes in here, obviously, and then we have a seal we gotta get.
And we have a new seal for the anti-dive. Fits in there ever so carefully. Ish. Oh my gosh. How's that gonna stay in there? Gosh.
Let's carefully put it on here like this.
Okay, before you go too much further, we should probably look. Make sure that seal is still. Okay, looks like it's still in there.
Yep. Still in place. This piece goes in here, like that.
All right, and then push that through, flush. Next step is the ring stopper. Which is right there. Yeah, the flange goes on the side that has the W-shaped sticky outy thing. Yeah, just like this W-shaped sticky outy thing, flange. Okay. So put this little pin through there. Now we have this micro tiny little. Is it on?
Yep, see him.
Okay. For the right fork, we got to put in 12.7 fluid ounces. So this is 16-ounce bottle. So we're going to leave about 3.3 ounces in there. A little bit more. Oh, hair more. I think that's going to be about there. And you're going to pump that a few times. Oh, you can hear it gurgling. Was that your stomach?
Yeah.
Well, it's a good sign it's not leaking all over the floor. So that's good.
Okay.
Okay, with it fully compressed, should be about just slightly over 7.5 inches. Do you want to hold this on the ground? Just go 7.5 and see if it touches.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, I think we're right about there. Next step is a new O-ring for the valve stem. We're gonna add this seal to the cap here. A new seal in there. All right. Now we're going to add the spring with the closer wound ones towards the bottom. Gonna put the plate spacer in there. Some additional spacer. You may need to be on the ground for this.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, now we got to get the
Valve stem put back in there. Okay.
one assembled.
Do we need to torque this?
Yeah, but we got to get it clamped. We have to
I
clamp
gotta get
this
it
here.
in the bike first.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we have to.
Okay, so we've made it this far. We have rebuilt one fork. There is the new fork waiting to be installed. And here is the other one. We've worked on cleaning it up, just kind of superficial before we tear into it. Hey, and by the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It really helps the channel. All right, let's carry on. All right, so here we are jumping in on the left fork. So you can see which fork it is. It is labeled right there. This one's an L, and the other one was a right. So left fork this time. And then remember, just work on one fork leg at a time to avoid mixing up any of the parts. Okay, so the fork cap here we're going to remove. Remember, that's under tension, so be sure to point that end away from you while you remove the cap. And then once we have that removed, we got to drain a bunch of this oil out. And then right now what he's doing is he's extending and compressing it several times to drain that oil, like we did on the last one. Okay, next we're going to pry that dust seal from that outer tube. Gently trying not to mar up or scrape up the inner or outer tube.
There you go. There we go. Okay. And then next is we got to pry that retaining ring from the groove in the outer tube. All right, great. All right, next step is to get this Allen screw out of the bottom. Remember in the last one, we cut off an Allen wrench. It's a 6mm in order to try and get this out. It's in there pretty tight with some Loctite. There we go. Good work. Okay, that unscrews out of there, and then also watch for that copper washer. Another point to notice, we on the last one had oil going everywhere because we had this sitting level in the vise, but this time we have it tilted and we have a pan sitting at one end to hopefully try and minimize some of that oil. And we've also put cardboard down on the floor this time to keep it off of our shop mats. So it looks like the washer is probably still in there.
Yeah, have to dig it out.
Okay.
Like jammed in there. Maybe it moved it. There we go.
Nice.
There we go. Got it out.
Okay. Right, next step is we're slide hammering this out. And what we're trying to do is yank the inner tube away from it repeatedly like a slide hammer until the seal and outer tube guide bushing pop loose. There we go. And there's everything there. Okay. And this is why we put cardboard down. Wasn't too bad of a mess this time, but it did splatter out. Okay. Next step is to remove the stopper ring and the oil lock valve. It's held on by a little clip, little spring clip.
Find the end of it. Right there. Okay.
There we go.
Okay. And that's what it looks like.
All right.
And then this is the stopper valve and the spring. And
there's
the washer that goes on top. Like that.
okay. And then we have one more. We just need to remember this piece flares away from the end of it.
I want to slide it over that one so it doesn't get caught in it. Got one more.
One more?
Yep.
Okay. There we go. Then slip back out to the opposite end. This is the piece we just pulled out. Earlier, when we were doing the slide hammer, we had already removed the oil seal and the backup ring, and now we're just going to take off the slider bushing, which is this large bushing from the inner tube. Okay, and the last step of disassembly is removing the anti-dive kit or unit, and this is held on by 4 5mm Allen screws. They're likely Loctited on, so it might be handy to use a socket. Remember, it's spring loaded. And he's alternating the screws, a few turns on each one, in order to not jam the screw. Let's strip it. Okay, and just be cautious with the spring, like that one that just bounced out of there. Okay, that's our anti-dive unit. All right, and once you have this apart, you're going to want to clean all parts with solvent and then blow dry them with compressed air to get them all clean. You want to check all the bushings for scoring and scratches, excessive wear, the upper and lower housings, all for excessive wear. And then we also want to check the spring length, and it should be roughly about 15 3/8. So here we go. About 15 3/8. Okay, so we are good there, and we've checked all our parts. All right, now it's time to take apart this anti-dive. We've got this little spring there. It's to come off. Woo. Hear it. We do have a new one.
That's probably why they didn't.
Could be why the other one didn't have it.
And this one here, this flare on this side is going to be on the left-hand side, facing.
Looking at it.
Yep.
Okay, that's the piece we just took out. And there's a little plastic bushing in here. There we go. That's out. All right, next we take off that rubber. Okay. Push that out. And there's a seal and an O-ring inside there.
spring down inside. Actually, we have one more underneath this 10 millimeter. It's on there pretty tight, so we actually just temporarily mount it back in here just so we can get some leverage.
Just like that.
There's a little screw, little copper washer. Now we remove it back from the housing. All right, so next, since we have the rebound spring is still on the dampen rod, and so we didn't take that apart. It still looked in good condition. So we want to just slide that damper rod into the inner fork tube slowly until it protrudes out.
Slowly. That's slowly.
Yep. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and put the oil lock and the stopper ring and all that back on. With our new springs. Okay, put that piece on, just like that. Put the taper up. Yep, taper away from this end here. We're going to go ahead and put the plate on there and the spring. And then the retaining spring. Okay, we're in there. All right, next we're going to install this new slider bushing, just like that. And then we're going to install the inner fork tube into the outer fork tube. Adding a little oil to help it glide smoother. Okay, so now the next step is to install the dampen rod screw at the bottom here. In order to do that, like last time, we temporarily insert the spring and the cap. Just then apply some pressure on the dampen rod. A little bit of non-permanent Loctite on the screw. And then our cutoff Allen wrench, 6 millimeter. Then we're going to torque that to 14 foot-pounds. Torqued to 14 foot-pounds. we go. All right, and then we'll remove the spring and the cap that were just temporarily in there. Okay, next step is to install this bushing here. So that'll go down in there. And we have to press it in, so we're going to use the old washer, the old bushing, and our homemade pipe press. Add a little bit more oil. Take out the old washer and old bushing. We'll check and make sure that it should be flush in there.
It is.
Yep, looks good. So as we install this, first we put in the backup ring right there, and then we put the seal on, and then inside the package, it shows that the markings are up. And so we want to make sure we put the seal in. The markings are on the top edge of this, and we want to make sure we put those up. And this will slide down, and then again we'll use that same press method we just did to get that seal down in there. Get it down low enough so that we can get the spring clip on that seal. Are we there?
Yep.
All right, it looks like we are.
Yep.
Okay, next we add that spring clip.
It's in.
Okay, great. And then lastly, we put on the new dust cover. A little oil on there to help it slide. Okay, Dust cover's installed. All right, we'll go ahead and put in this anti-dive seal. Just added a little bit of oil to help seal.
Okay.
And then the anti-dive unit, we're going to go ahead and add that O-ring in there. Down in there.
Okay.
Okay. And we're going to add that seal. There we go. And then this anti-dive piece. Go ahead and put through there. Okay. And then we want to go ahead and put our rubber cover back on. Next, we add this O-ring to the anti-dive unit. That can be a little bit of a struggle. Just makes you laugh. Right. Oh. Yeah. There's that laughing. Okay. Spring. As we go, we'll gently screw these in, checking to make sure those seals are still in there. Looking good. Okay. Take a peek around the sides, make sure there's no bulging. Looks like everything is seated where it should be. Next we'll screw in our screw here with the new copper washer. Okay, next we add in our little plastic bushing. And then next we're going to go ahead and put that pin with flange in. And the flange side goes on the sticker side. We have a tiny little spring clip. Now we need to replace the seals in the cap. It's a 10 millimeter here. Okay, now we just add the O-ring to the cap so that it's ready after we add the oil.
Ooh.
Maybe.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. Next we're going to go ahead and add the fork oil. We need 12.6 ounces. We're starting with a new bottle so we can measure it more easily.
Okay, a little bit more. Okay, more.
A little bit more. I'm going to say that's pretty close to what we're needing. So now we need to pump that. Okay, and then after you've pumped it, you're going to compress, make sure the spring's not in there, and you're going to compress it. It should be about 7.5, just slightly more than 7.5 inches. And there we're touching.
Yep, there we are.
Right there. Okay. Next step, we're going to go ahead and put the spring in. The compressed coils go to the bottom. And the spacer. Then the sleeve. That's going to compress down. We're going to use a 24. I think I'm going to help hold this. Okay, and the last thing, put in the valve stem.
Yep.
And there we have it. How's that feel? Oh man, that is very much better.
100 times better.
Previously, you could just basically put no pressure on it and it would just collapse. Okay, we are ready to start installing the fork. We're going to start with the left one and we're going to insert it up through holes where it came from.
You're gonna have to line
Yep. Keep going. You're there. Okay. You want to come up to my finger? Right there. And what I can do is just tighten this here a little. Roughly.
Still okay?
Yeah, there. Just tightened it in for you a little.
Okay.
While you work on those Allen screws. Whoa, those are 8mm.
Yeah. These are 8mm.
Right there is where we're tightening it. Okay, we have tightened the lower two triple nuts, and now we're going to torque this upper cap to 17 foot-pounds. All right, we've got the left fork in. Now we are putting the right fork in. I'll go up to the top here, help guide. Okay. Yep, you are about there. Should keep coming up. Hang on, let me loosen this one up a little bit. Looks like it's pretty loose already. Okay. There you go, you're coming up through there. Okay. Right about...
A little bit more.
Yep, right. Too much. Down a little. Up. Up a little. Okay, right there. Hold it right there. I'll tighten it.
Okay.
Okay. I'm holding it up here.
All right.
So now you can...
Take these out and Loctite them.
Yep. I want to take each of those out and Loctite them like the other side. Grab the Loctite for us. Couldn't find any torque specifications for these, so we're just cranking them down pretty tight. Best we can. Take that upper one out. Some Loctite. All right.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Great. All right, next we're going to install the handlebars. All right. Let's go ahead and put those clamps back on. And these handlebar bolts get torqued to 18 foot-pounds. And there's a little notch or a little marker to keep track of where they go. And the marker lines up with the seam down here. But to make it easier, I just made a little mark right here on our handlebars and the bracket just to line us up a little bit easier.
Are we close?
Yeah, we're there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You can tighten this up, and then
Let's knock it out.
I got the torque wrench at 18. Okay. There you go. Let's. There you go. That should work. Okay, good deal. Okay, originally we had tightened these up to help hold the forks in place, but now we are going to torque these to 17 foot-pounds. And we're there. Okay, that's that one. Let's go ahead and tighten that bolt back up. Okay, switch sides with you. Loosen that bolt up again. Okay, and then we'll torque it to 17 foot-pounds again. And we're there. Okay, we'll tighten that. Bolt back up. Okay, awesome. So we're going to put on our cap covers. Okay, now we start putting on the fenders. We're going to start with the rear portion. Okay. I'll help hold this up in there. These line up here, right there, and up here. I'll help put the side in. Okay. And there's this bracket. Slides up in there. There we go. Add these Allen screws in from the top. We leave it just a little loose because we got to get the front fender in. It slides in there. Okay, that slides over that. Add the Allen screws. I'll just go ahead and snug these up. That bracket underneath. Okay, next we're going to insert these front bolts for the fender. 10 millimeters, I think.
Yep.
And these bolts have little shoulders on them that fit on the plastic. ones on the sides as well. Then we reinstall this chrome trim piece that holds the speedometer cable. There we go. The back one has a little nipple that fits into the slot. And the next piece we put on is this upper chrome trim piece. A couple Allen screws, and then there's also caps. All right, and let's not forget our caps.
Nope.
We put on there.
Yep. Go down.
All right, next step, we're gonna go ahead and put this tire on. Put the wheel on. A couple things we gotta watch for is the speedometer. It's gonna go on this side in those teeth, and also the spacer on this side. It's gonna fit right in there. Remember those teeth line up in there.
There we go.
There we go.
Drop it down a little bit.
Yeah. Keep coming. Looking good. Keep coming. Okay. Okay, and then this axle bolt, you want to make sure you torque it to 65 foot-pounds. And what you can do is hold it on this side with a screwdriver. There we go. Double check, right on. Good work. All right, next are the ring of fire brackets and the pinch bolts. Be sure on this left side that hooks over the speedometer cable to help hold it out.
I should put some Loctite on it.
We're gonna add a little Loctite to that. And we're going to torque them to 16 foot-pounds. There we go. Other side. A little Loctite. Bracket. Snug them up. And then torque to 16 foot-pounds.
You seen it?
Yeah. All right. 6mm at the top.
That's what
6mm at the top, 5mm at the bottom.
Okay.
Top bracket bolt for the calipers. The 6mm is going to be torqued to 17 foot-pounds. Okay. Do that on each side. Okay. And the bottom one, which is on this bike connected to an anti-dive system, which is right there. That's going to be torqued to 9 foot-pounds. And the other side. Okay. Next step is to install the ring of fire back on, being careful of the wires. And we have 2 screws at the bottom. One's an 8mm. They should both be 8mm, but one's a Phillips on ours. Bracket. Right, making sure that bracket is hooked on the back side while you're screwing it in. And then just have the plastic cover. Hooks in the front there, presses in the back. Hang on. There you go. Ta-da!